Hey there, Mr. Dodd back again, moving through function operations as a part of pre-calculus curriculum. F1, I can calculate functions and compositions of functions symbolically and numerically. So as we go through, we need to be able to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and then do compositions of functions. There's a couple different ways each one of these can be written, and I have each of these here. I'm not going to read them all to you, but I'll just use this one for example. F of x plus g of x is one way, or I could say f plus g of x, and that's how you would say each one of those. Two different forms of the composition. I think this form, f of g of x, is how you would say that. I think this form is way easier to visualize what's going on than this one. These two things mean the same thing, but I always rewrite. If I see I a lot of times refer to this as fog. I often, if not always, rewrite it as this version before I go. So these skills the instructions are pretty generic here because it just depends on what's there, but basically I'm going to give you two functions, an f of x and a g of x. They could be all sorts of different functions, and then you actually just have to do what is asked in the problem. So for example, f of x plus g of x is equal to x squared minus 2, so that's my f of x portion, plus 5x plus 1. Now, when I'm adding, I don't really need to be careful about my parentheses, but if I was subtracting, I would need to be careful, so just keep that in mind as you go. And then I just want to combine like terms and write in descending order, so that would be x squared plus 5x minus 1. And that's all I'm looking for you to do. That is the function f of x plus g of x. This is a different form, f minus g of r. So what the r is going to do in this is, at the end, I'm going to have you rewrite, or even at the beginning, I'm going to have you rewrite your variables with x's, or with r's instead of x's. So this simply means x squared minus 2, oops, I should have written r squared minus 2, I apologize, I just got done saying it. So r squared minus 2 minus 5r plus 1. So the r at the end just tells you to replace your x's with r's, and then I'm going to subtract the f equation from the g, or the g equation from the f equation, and again just combine like terms. So this would be r squared minus 5r minus 3, and that would be my final solution there. Okay, sorry about that mistake at the beginning, but again, I'm just working through these ones. All right, another slightly different version for you to look at, f times g of 4. F times g of 4. That just means I'm going to multiply the f and the g together, but at the end I'm going to have you plug in a 4. And actually you can plug in a 4 at the beginning, or you can plug in a 4 at the end. With this one I'm going to plug in a 4 at the end, just to show you how to do it symbolically. So I would do x squared minus 2 times 5x plus 1. To complete that, I would have to FOIL this guy. That's going to give me 5x cubed plus x squared minus 10x minus 2. Okay, just foiling that out. And then the 4 at the end tells me to plug in a 4. So this would be equal to 5 times 4 cubed plus 4 squared minus 10 times 4 minus 2, which would give me 294 if you add all those things together. So this one has a numerical answer. The first one has an answer in terms of x, symbolic answer in terms of x. Second one has a symbolic answer in terms of r. This division one, division's actually, it always looks scary, but then there's just nothing much you can do. So f of x divided by g of x, I'm not replacing my x's with anything. So that's x squared minus 2 divided by 5x plus 1. And there's nothing really I can do there, so that is my final answer. It's symbolic, and it is in terms of x's. Okay. So the last one, and I'll show you how to plug in from the very beginning. I always like to read, anytime I have a fog like this, always like to rewrite it as f of g of x. And I actually should have put a -5 in there because I'm actually doing f of g of -5. So you can just plug the -5 in from the beginning. I like to do it in parts just to keep myself organized. So g of -5 would be 5 times -5 plus 1, which would be -25 plus 1, which would be -24. So then that would be f of -24. So see how that works? The g of -5 tells me to plug -5 into g. Once I plug -5 into g, I would get -24, and then that tells me to plug -24 in for f. So that would be -24 squared minus 2, which is equal to 574. Okay, so those are our function operations. I think for the most part, those are pretty straightforward. Hopefully you can see everything at once, but we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and then doing compositions of functions at the end.